Welcome to the Good Karma Sport Fishing Podcast. I'm your host, Captain Ryan Van Fleet. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. So I'm going to be launching a new program here within the next few weeks, and that's what I've been working on. So I've been doing some beta testing, and the results have been phenomenal for anglers. Phenomenal. Saturday, was unbelievable. So I decided that I am going to move forward with this program. So I'm going to announce it here within the next couple weeks and maybe sooner. So I'm just having to put together the details and go from there. So I will let you guys know. Stay tuned to the social channels. You can follow me on Good Karma Sport Fishing _FL_keys for the announcement through Instagram. Also, too, I will put out a short podcast announcing it and what it entails. So watch for that announcement as well. So I want to read to you guys a passage from Tread Barta. And like I've talked about Tread Barta before, and if you don't know who he is, you probably should, look him up. Look up his old stuff on YouTube. He was an awesome content writer, really did an amazing job in how he told a story. Worked hard, he really did it. He used to have a TV show back in the day. He was always on after Jose shows on Friday nights, and I made it a ritual to sit down and watch his shows because he was a hard dude, man. He was and I really liked his style of writing. I liked his philosophies about fishing and working and developing your own ways and all that stuff. So I really live by that code today. And I saved a lot of his writings over the years because I really liked what he had to say. And over the past 15, 20 years, I've just saved everything that he ever wrote because he was he really had a way with words and told a really good story. This one is, like I said, Tread was in a wheelchair towards his end, and he still was had a boat built down here for him, and he was lived his last days down here in Islamorada going fishing at the hump and doing it his way, doing it the hard way. So that was his motto. So this is one I clipped out this morning. And so being late is a deal breaker with me. If somebody's late all the time, you never look at them the same. So it's the same goes with fishing. So listen, here's the deal. If you're scheduled to be on time for a charter, don't show up late because any good captain, he's not going to treat you the same. Now, if you call the captain, let him know that you're running late, he's going to have more respect for you that way. And then he's going to okay, at least they called, they're letting me know what's going on. And I always tell my clients, if you're going to be late, you need to call, okay? Because there's a lot of prep that goes into fishing, and just don't show up late and think it's okay because any charter boat captain's not going to it doesn't matter if you're paying him or not. He's going to look at that because captains are captains, man. A good captain, he's going to get shit done, and he's got a code. This one's called Lessons Learned by Captain Tread Barta. And, Tread left us with these little articles and just some really good content that is still amazing that most people should It's anything else that you should once in a while just pick up and read. So this is the article here. Lessons Learned 2, I'll Take to the Grave, Captain Tread Barta. It's a fact of life that one day I'll be gone, and more than 5 decades of lessons learned on the water will cease to cross the pages of the leading magazines that I write for. My social networks will go silent, but I'm not dead, so pay close attention. Now, we learned this stuff at a young age, and for myself, I was taught this by my dad. Being late is not okay. Being late is not okay. And Melinda operates on that as well. So this one goes out to all you young kids. So when he was 10 years old, a friend, and this goes out to anybody, okay? Anybody that's doesn't have a boat or has a boat but likes to go on your friend's boat. So just listen to this. When I was 10 years old, a friend of the same age invited Tread to go fish with him on his family's rowboat and the following weekend. So he joined the family many times. He went rowing to the fishing grounds. He writes, anchoring and fishing for flounder and blackfish. And then they wrote on to say, Tread wrote that these people counted on him to go with them, to help them. So they always looked forward to having him come along and help them on their trips. So coincidentally, at the last minute, a wealthy family from Bronxville invited Tread to join them on the very same day aboard their 40-foot boat. It was a 40-foot Matthews, so Tread was like, oh my God, he's a 10-year-old. He was going to get invited on a mega yacht, and he decided to ditch his friends to fish on that Matthews, okay? As he prepared to leave for his trip, his dad learned of his wrongdoing and immediately canceled the trip. He also had his Tread write a long letter to that family apologizing for what he did. And he grounded Tread for 30 days with zero privileges and hard labor. So didn't let the kid go fishing. That's enough to it's like taking away a kid's Xbox nowadays. So he also spent, Tread also wrote that he spent 2 days sweeping the Bronxville jail and washing police cars. No joke, he said. So the lesson was clear. He writes, your word is your bond, and you keep your word no matter what, even if it means sacrificing something bigger or better. Now, another lesson he writes here occurred years later and is also stuck with Tread. He was invited on a multi-day fishing trip to Martha's Vineyard aboard a large Norseman fishing yacht. It was August, and he would be targeting bluefin tuna. I was to meet the boat at 7:30 a.m. the following Saturday. He arrived at 7:40 a.m., only to find an empty slip. The boat left him. They could have easily waited, he said. And then, but his father insisted that they shove off without him and leave him. The slap in the face stung like a bee, he writes, but the lesson was clear. If you say you're going to be somewhere at a specific time, be there early. He writes, his father was an honorable man, and he was a B-29 Super Fortress pilot. As life progressed, Tread continued to be reminded about words of integrity from his dad. Honor code and loyalty. He was a hero to Tread, his dad. He was always clean cut, and he had nerves of steel. Now, as Tread's career progressed in the sport fishing industry, it blew up for Tread in the late 90s, in the 2000s, early 2000s. Even after a lifetime spent, he writes, on the high seas, he was now confined to a wheelchair. It's just tragic what happened to Tread. So if you really want to read more, you got to do a little research. I'm not going to get into that. But he didn't. So in Tread's words, this is what he writes. Even after a lifetime spent on the high seas and now confined to a wheelchair, I can tell you with certainty that if Captain Tread Barta tells you he's going to do something, he is going to do it, no matter what. If Captain Tread Barta tells you he will be at a certain place then he writes, I have my father to thank for these traits. Then he goes on to say, it's sad, but nowadays we live in a society that breeds mediocrity, where people seem to find excuses for everything, and it's always someone or something else's fault. I was 30 minutes late because of this, or I couldn't show up to help you as promised because of that. Quite simply, great captains and honorable men in general don't make excuses. If these are the same footsteps you walk in, frame this column and hang it right on your bulkhead for everyone to use. Now, a lot of people use excuses, say I don't have anybody that taught me, or I didn't have anybody teach me. That's how it goes. Okay? That's how it goes. If you want to work for anybody out there, if you want to work in the fishing industry for a captain that's got his shit together, then you better have listened to that. Because those captains operate underneath that code still. They may not act like it, but on that day that you're fucking late, I went through that with the mates down here that I had. When I first started, it was all bare bones. And I did have some mates. I think you guys can go back and listen to my earlier podcast, but I tell you about, and I changed the names of the mates, and they were late. One guy got arrested, went to jail. Another guy had some issues with his wife because his wife wouldn't let him go fish. One guy didn't like to clean up the chum. It was crazy. It's like, I don't even get into it. So let me just tell you, everybody's replaceable. I would rather have somebody with no fucking fishing experience. So Melinda, who had no fishing experience came on that boat and became my mate. And I got to tell you what, she worked 10 times harder than most guys that got on that boat that had fishing experience. And I showed her a couple things, and she was there, and so we worked hard that summer and get things automated, anchoring, all that stuff to where I was like, didn't have to like have it. And I got to tell you what, Melinda, like, God bless her. And you guys can go back to listen to the podcast. No fishing experience, would get seasick, but she took all the possible precautions she did, and she got out there and she worked her ass off. She helped clients. She helped me. It's a dirty ass job. Helped me clean the boat every night so I can get home. And we unloaded and loaded, and she still helps me out in the morning. So, listen, I would rather have somebody with no experience than bring on somebody that has bad habits. So everybody's replaceable, guys. Everybody. And if you're a fishing mate and listen to this, you are replaceable too. So don't get like comfortable and don't get cocky. Now I see like fishing mates. I heard a story about a fishing mate stealing a bunch of shit from his captain, and the next thing you know, he's gone, starting his own business. My clients caught him taking pictures of the GPS. They bring but their mates are bringing along ride-alongs. And then the ride-along was taking pictures of the captain's GPS and taking the spots while the captain was in the tower. I mean, that's the type of shit that's going on out there. So you have the freelance mates. Where do you think all these freelance mates got all their GPS spots from? There you go. It's not that they did the work. And when they run out of those areas to fish, or they have a tough day, they don't have anywhere to go because they don't really get it. So think about that before you hire a freelance mate. Think about it. So, okay. Talk to you guys about the fishing. Dolphin. Shitty. But if you want to catch them, there probably will be a good push here pretty soon. We had some rain down in Cuba. Anytime we have some rain down there in the Caribbean, it starts pushing shit into the debris, into the Gulf Stream, and then that's the way it goes. So North Carolina's crushing fish. There are plenty of dolphin, but they are just going out and around us, and they're not coming through the Keys. But when can you expect some dolphin? Probably later in the summer. There will be probably a good push of dolphin here on the new moons. That's been kind of the pattern lately. Around the new moon. The new moon in May was phenomenal for people. Probably the new moon here in June will be really good for dolphin fishing. Now we have a lot more grass that's moving through. And now you have to look at grass like it's not going to be negative, okay? So if we have some nice southeast wind with some good current, that'll set up some nice fishing. But if we don't, it's going to be shitty. So I don't know how to look at it. I mean, you can't have it both ways. So I mean, you got to have that kind of shit. And yeah. And then there used to not be any grass, and everybody would bitch about that. So I don't know. And as far as what I've seen down here, as far as grass goes, it's day by day. Really, this year has nothing been any different from the past few years. It's been bad up and down the East Coast for years. It's just that, we have a lot more satellite. The satellite systems are better, so they can see it more this year, I think. But usually this stuff goes away midsummer like it did last year. It just depends on the heat and all the stuff coming off Africa. It's coming right off Africa. You can see it where it's coming from. I mean, all the algae blooms. Now, you also have an algae bloom that comes out of the Mississippi River. And not a lot of people talk about this shit coming out of the Mississippi. So when you have the algae bloom that comes out of the Mississippi River, that stuff grabs the loop current. And it's hot in that Gulf. And it just forms a nasty algae bloom. Now, you got a lot of shit being dumped in the Mississippi River. And that stuff gets dumped in Louisiana. And you can see it. I mean, you can see it from the satellites, and that shit's loaded with like nasty fertilizers now. And the Mississippi River used to be able to eat some good fish out of there, and I wouldn't even honestly, I wouldn't I don't know. I don't think I could do it anymore just because of the sheer amount of. Not a lot of people know this, but the paper companies dump a lot of mercury into the Mississippi River, and like all that shit gets washed down. So you have a lot of mercury in there. There's a lot of manufacturing plants that discharge into the Mississippi River, and they're allowed like a certain amount of discharge in the Mississippi River. I don't know if you guys know that, but that's the truth. So I'm not going to get into that right now, but I just want to let you know that there's like, it's more than like, this stuff isn't just coming from the, from up the Gulf Stream. This stuff is coming out of the Gulf. It's coming out of the Mississippi. There's a lot more to this. So, okay, that's all I got. Oh, there's some wahoo around on the Eagle Wreck. There you go. There's your nugget. They're there, and they're also inside the Alameda Hump around this. Like, so it's worth pulling some planers. I'm not trolling this time of year. That's all I got. Thank you guys for tuning in. You can follow me on Instagram, goodkarmasportfishing_FL_keys. And then stay tuned for my big announcement. And if you'd like to get into my private fishing clubs, you can email me at goodkarmaryan@gmail.com. I've got Good Karma Sport Fishing Club 1 and Good Karma Sport Fishing Club 2, Rigging Crew 1, Rigging Crew 2. And then if you'd like to sign up for private coaching, you can email me and ask for a price on that as well. Thank you again. And remember, anytime you're fishing, it's all good.